Welcome back, everyone. We have returned from non-public session of the October 23rd, 2023 Town of Kingston Select Board meeting. I'm going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for those looking at the agenda. We obviously already had our non-public session that we had scheduled for 6 p.m. Our first appointment is, I do not see the Director of Public Works here, or is it just information in the packets?
He did say the new contract for...
Yeah, the MS4.
So apparently, apparently the company that we have been dealing with, GeoInsight, has now been purchased by this company, Verdantis. Pardon? Oh, yeah, sorry. They've kept, some of the people are the same, Susan? Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that it looks like GeoInsight, which was our provider.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe we should table this for now?
Let's table this. Yeah. And he'll be in shortly. 7 minutes. Okay. So we will move to our first public comment. Mr. Rustwick, nothing tonight? With no one wanting to participate, we will close our first public comment. Committee liaison reports. I will start with Ellie again this week.
The Wage Matrix Committee met again last week and made some good progress. Looks like the matrix set up for the police, fire, and highway. We do plan to meet with both the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen to make a presentation of what we're proposing to go forward with and where we need to do more work. And so we're looking at that sometime in November. We had tentative date, but we haven't confirmed that yet with the Budget Committee.
Yeah, so I know we reached out to them. And what it was is initially on the Budget Committee's thing, their first time hearing of our presentation of that wasn't scheduled till December, and we just didn't think if they had any recommendations and wanted to try and elicit some more information that we could get out of what we had, we wanted to make sure there was a period of time where we could say, okay, let's see if we can find an answer to that and bring it to you before they use that data moving forward on any type of decision. So we just wanted to make sure there was at least 2 bites at the apple to have an opportunity for the Budget Committee to talk to the working group and ask them any questions from it and ask for any further.
A ton of work has been done, and it's amazing how much we have accomplished, but there's still some areas, especially in the town hall and the different job descriptions and variety of functions that different people do. It's not all the same all the way through towns throughout the state, so that's been a bigger job than we anticipated. And I like to avoid spending $75,000 to $100,000 to bring in a consulting firm to do this for us. So but that's why we want to bounce things off the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen and let you know where we stand and go forward from there.
Can I ask a question? Is part of this process not only determining, are our wages equitable, but are we also going to be coming up with some sort of ranges for positions?
Yes, that, and we were looking at a 5-year plan, for example, so that you knew exactly where wages would move forward. That was one of the concerns from the Budget Committee. They didn't like pay for performance, and we can discuss the pros and cons of that accordingly, but they thought it would be more equitable again if we had a matrix and people just move from one step to the next. And then you have an increase. You're going to have a cost of living that's going to be applied. We don't want to fall back into being behind everybody else and spending time and money training people for them to leave us for more money the next town over. And that's been a problem for at least 5 to 10 years. So we want to get ahead of that. We want to stay on top of it. We're going to probably have a proposal of what we think should be a cost of living increase for next year across the board, and maybe nothing else next year. It's going to be we have to be tight about some things for sure.
But yes, the proposal, the information that we're bringing has, for that job, what should be the low range to the high range, and then, you know, a series of steps in between based off of years of service, so that whether you hired somebody from the outside that has applicable experience that you could transfer to that job, so they wouldn't always necessarily start at the bottom, but you want to place them where is appropriate, as to not put them above somebody who already works in the town that may have more experience. So, and at the end of the day, we may present information that says, yes, this is where the town needs to be at whatever percentile, the 50th percentile of the market, consistent with what happened. But between the budget committee or the select board, we may say, hey, yeah, we all agree that's where we should be, but we can't get there in 1 year. And then I think there may be some determinations, either it's placed in the budget or done as a separate warrant article for the town to accept some type of pay scale matrix based off of this study. And it could be a 1, 2, 3 year implementation where it's incremental increases to get to that, but with increasing it with cost of living as it goes, as to not fall behind while you're waiting for implementation. So we're just trying to provide some data so we can all kind of make a decision of a path that we feel is palatable to the town, as well as retaining and recruiting employees.
We made a good effort, and I thank the department heads in particular, because they worked especially hard to get us the information we needed, and fortunately NHMA, the other resource.
I don't have anything of value that I think I should be sharing, and I used up so much time the last meeting. I'm going to pass it on to you.
Okay.
Very good.
How do you like that?
I do like that.
So, chiefs, we usually talk to the chief pretty often, so we all know how the police department's going, so I'm not going to reiterate any of that. The planning board, I did bring up at our meeting last week, Glenn's concerns that CIP stuff had never gone out. So Glenn Greenwood had told me, oh yeah, I'll have it done by Friday, and you know, Glenn kind of educated me some more in the process. There's no way it can be done because we still have to elicit that information from the department heads, but the CIP process is definitely behind schedule right now. So I'm motivating Glenn to speed that up. And you know, I don't know if he's already talked to some department heads about any needs or items that they're looking to put forward in the process, but he understands that he needs to get that information together pretty quickly.
I don't have much either, except for the fact that I know that from the budget committee standpoint, the police, fire, and highway department have gotten their draft budgets in, and they're all working very hard to keep it within the realm of what the budget committee is looking for, you know, until we set up other things. So, and I think everybody's gotten the word. Most of the small committees know what they have to do. So I think we're going to be in better shape going in this year than we were last year with the budgets.
I don't have any reports, but I have a question or a comment about, so for the capital improvement, is that something you would address next week at the department head meeting to make sure that even if they don't hear from Glenn, they can have their, you know,
there will be all topics discussion regarding anything budgeting related will be discussed next week at the department head meeting. I have several items I'll be having Susan specifically place on there for us to discuss. So CIP will be one of them. So we still do not have the, I heard something. Old business, the assessing contract with, we have to make a decision. We have bid comparisons in the packets.
So I saw I looked through this before the meeting, because Susan had sent it out to us. There's clearly one that is the low price, and it appears that it doesn't have any extra cost built in. Now, it says none noted. Are we confident that there won't be extras?
Yeah, the bids are pretty standard. It's just that a couple of them said the town is responsible for mailing out notices.
Okay.
And if they didn't say that.
So do we have any experience or knowledge of the low-priced option here, the lowest price one, which is Corcoran?
I've called the references. Everybody was very happy with them.
Really?
They have good staffing. They're very knowledgeable. They're all certified.
Okay.
Barrington commented that they were excellent.
Yes. Yeah, she had nothing but good things to say. And the other ones, honestly, I didn't get any bad reviews of anybody. I can't say that, you know, any of the rest wouldn't be good, but they really stood out to me, and they had the most clear.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, it's definitely significant increases to the past contract, but it's still the, you know, the cheapest option of there, and I think it's just important people to know that this is a statutory obligation that we provide this service in the town.
Right, I just wouldn't want us to be making a decision on price alone, which is why I asked
Right.
because, you know, taking the low price bid is not always the best option.
Yep.
But if we're looking at apples to apples, and it's a good firm, and we've got good references, then, and they happen to also be the lowest priced of the four, then I have no problem with it.
Yeah, it's not like it's a dramatic difference in price.
No.
But it's still the lowest one, so I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with it.
And I think a couple of the more expensive ones had some additional costs that you got billed for additionally. This one seemed to
Yeah.
be kind of like, this is it.
And if you look at the second cheapest MRI, one reason that they are low is because they're not going to provide the cyclical, the cyclical assessing in the first year. They don't have the staffing, so that's kind of alarming to me if they are, you know, kind of gambling on getting enough people by the second year.
Yeah, that's true, that's a good point, Susan.
I'd move we would the contractor document.
Second?
Can we just put in there for amount not to exceed $253,000
For a 5-year contract.
for a 5-year contract?
Yes, I will second that as well.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Yes, well, and that's why I wanted us to make sure we took care of this so that, because this has to go to the budget committee, like, this is an item that needs to be budgeted for.
Yes.
And Paula had said on her spreadsheets, the 5th year of a contract will already be incorporated into the spreadsheet.
Correct.
So that when we're budgeting for the assessing, it's automatically gonna come up. So
Yeah.
it won't be a problem in the future years.
Okay, so we will go back to our tabled item of the MS4 contract with the Director of Public Works.
Evening. I believe everybody got a copy of the proposed contract from Verdantis. So you can see it's about $14,000 more than our current contract for the,
It's also an estimate, it's not a firm price.
correct.
Do we have any sense for what the leeway is on that estimate?
As with anything, how much we want to do is always open to interpretation. As far as the meetings go, we've switched from having in-person meetings on a monthly basis to Zoom meetings. So I think their number can come down as far as that goes. The biggest cost in here is the lake phosphorus control plan that we're going to be required because we have a phosphorus impairment, and that's part of our permit that we have to have a plan to control the phosphorus. So in the past, it's been more kind of a paper shuffle, making sure that our permit is correct, doing the necessary testing and things like that. Not to say that those things were insignificant or things didn't take place, but this is going to require more investigation as to where the phosphorus is coming from and what can be done to mitigate it. So the intent here was to get, since we have had a long-standing agreement with this company, to give them first bite at the apple. I guess at this point, I just wonder if it might be better if we go out to bid to get a better sense of it. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable that prices have gone up. Our current contract was an extension of the one from 2018, and I don't think that was reflective of kind of the full inflationary brunt there. So this is, so.
And this is for, just for 2 years, basically, years 7 and 8 of the program, of the permit, okay?
Yep.
If we had another, if we go out to bid and we find another particular company and it's less money and they're qualified, how much burden is this going to be on you to update them with what we've already done so that they're not repeating it, et cetera?
It will be a burden, but if it saves us $5,000 to $10,000, it might be a worthwhile burden to bear.
I mean, without us being, you know, I know MS4 is huge implications if we don't follow it correctly, but it seems like we have time here, and due to even the estimated costs, I would feel more comfortable with us going by our guidelines of putting it out to RFP and bid. And because it is kind of concerning in here, because it doesn't, when it does the estimated cost, it doesn't even outline what triggers of the additional cost. You know, do they have to, before they do anything outside of the scope of the estimate, do they have to present it back to us to authorize that work, or is it just, we decided to do this, this, and this, and here's the bill and you got to pay it? I guess that type of language is concerning to me. So if we were going to go forward with drafting an RFP, I would like the RFP in to state something to the effect of, if anything is based off of an estimate and there are potentially additional costs, we want to know how those are assessed and whether they have to be pre-approved by the town before we incur those additional costs.
So before they do anything major outside of their scope of services, everything is run through me. And I will say, so this is kind of an odd contract that we have because it goes from June to July. So we encumber any of the remaining funds, and we actually just burned through the last of the year 5 permit money last month. So we're able to kind of carry that money forward. And there is a lot that doesn't get billed out. So this is just what could potentially be covered under that contract. And I think it's fairly encompassing of what could potentially come up. You just don't know when you get, as with any engineering project, you don't know what's going to come up in the course of investigation. So I think this is more of a worst case scenario. And like I said, it's kind of hard to put a number to it. I was trying to this afternoon. Unfortunately, some other things got in the way. But, you know, because we encumber every year, I do think we're lower than what the estimate was for these years. But we just kind of keep rolling on that previously encumbered money, and so it just makes it really hard to kind of parse that out.
Phil, was there a reason why they changed their name? Are the principals the same? Or are they new owners, basically?
It's a different company.
Yeah.
It was,
It's a total-
Geo Insight was bought out by Verdantis.
Okay, so it was acquired by someone else, right?
Yep.
Because Geo Insight was a New Hampshire company,
That's
right?
what
Correct,
I thought,
yep.
too, right?
And this is a Holden, Mass. Yeah.
Now, will they only work on the fiscal year, work on a fiscal year calendar? Is that because of tie-ins with any federal funding and grants and stuff like that? Or would it be worthwhile to put an RFP looking to align us back with our calendar year budget?
Well, it's tied to the permit year. So the
Okay.
permit year operates off of that. So,
Okay.
And I guess I should be more informative on that, is we're not just billing for services off of this current contract. It's stuff to finish the year 5 contract. So the encumbered money goes to paying for, most of the encumbered money goes to paying the year 5 permit paperwork and things like that. Stuff we're still kind of finishing up. It was submitted a month and a half ago, but there's still things that are tied to that we were paying off, so.
Okay, so if we go out to RFP, that's not going to put you in any type of a bind, time constraint wise?
No, that was the goal in getting us out there early so that we had time to make moves that we needed to. And I wanted to see, I believe 25,000, we have to go out to RFP, correct? So.
Unless we can clearly articulate the reasons why we don't, but when it's practical and we're able to, we really should.
And the reality is, there will be some growing pains with a new engineering firm if someone else is the low bidder. But the permit years are kind of independent of each other. There's different tasks and different priorities in each permit year. So the unfunded mandates just grow in scope and size as you go along, but it's different each year. So,
Plus, it's not like, if we were to change to a different firm, it's not like they wouldn't have access to the information that had been developed in the previous years.
correct.
So, okay.
Yeah, everything that's been done is our property, so, I mean, we have
Right.
all that information, and Lisa and I have been working at getting that to be a lot more accessible and available.
So who would be putting out the RFP? Would that be your office, Phil, or
We could definitely do that, yep.
is that what you were expecting?
Yep, that's what I was hoping for. So I think the board's consensus,
know
if you
what you're doing, right?
could draft an
Well, it's only my fault if I get it wrong, right?
So, yeah, if we could just draft the RFP and we'll, just, if, does the board want to review it beforehand, before we post it? I mean, it's,
I don't understand
yeah.
what it says anyway, so
Yeah.
proofread it for.
So, all right. So, yeah, draft that up and we'll get it posted and whatever you think is an appropriate amount of time to allow for some bids. And then,
Probably 30 days anyway.
yeah, I was for something like this.
Something
Yeah,
like this.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't a 10 or 14-day one.
Right, and where we're not under a particular time crunch, because we're
Yeah.
looking at years 25 and 26.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean,
24, 25,
Yeah,
25,
starts the end of next
26.
calendar year for us will be the first year of this contract.
No, June
Yeah, start,
of
yes.
next year is,
June.
the
2020.
end of June of
24.
June
24 is
24,
when.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there
Yep.
a lot of companies who anticipate getting some bids?
I would think so.
I mean,
I
it's,
don't know, that much about it, but obviously, as New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Whether we get bids or not is another story.
Yeah.
There are a number of
Yeah.
firms in New Hampshire, certainly, and, we could very well get bids from outside the state as well, but, I mean, there are engineering firms that do this all the time,
yeah.
so.
There are usually plenty of firms for stuff that you're forced to do and they know that there'll always be money.
Right.
All right. I guess just while you're here, because we are going to do an update on our ARPA expenditures worksheet, any estimates, preliminary estimates on anything for HVAC or work for the town hall?
so I've only received the one quote back that I forwarded to you, Chris. The other architect that I reached out to, I have not heard back from. I do owe a follow-up call to them. They had bid the original scope of work for here under ARPA funding, and I haven't heard from them on the follow-up, so.
Okay. Yeah, if you can follow up this week, I'd like us to maybe come to a decision how we're going to move forward with that at maybe at next week's meeting, if we think that's an appropriate time to discuss if we're going to move forward with an architect to do the scope of work, to do a complete bid assessment on the monies to utilize for here.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to send it over to you right away, just so for
Yep.
any decisions you guys have to make, that at least you would know roughly.
Did you
what
send it to Susan as well? Or did you just?
I don't know. Did I send it to you?
Okay, I'll forward it to you. I assume that you must have
Do
gotten it.
you
as
want
well,
better?
so-
I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah.
How about the steps, Bill?
That's part of it. So he broke it into two separate bids, the HVAC part of it and the front stairs, as far as the plans for both.
So you need an architect to do the front stairs? I'm not sure what.
Well, we've tried doing it without an architect, and that didn't get us very far,
Yeah,
so.
twice.
Twice.
Yeah, it needs to be designed and done correctly.
Yeah, I mean, based off what you said, the substructure needs to be addressed. We can't just keep placing stuff on top of, a substructure that's going to collapse and shift and move that's not done properly.
Yeah, I'm not
Or else we
interested
end
in
up with
being-
lovely boards barricading the front stairs for an indefinite amount of time.
I want to be able to carve my initials in the new one.
Chisel?
Permanently chiseled.
Yeah, I don't want to be strike-free on this, so I would assume we entailed professional help on it.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any new business? Nothing? All right, board business. We have the review of the ARPA expenditures worksheet, which we have the chart in the packets. Water source. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just looking at the very first one that's highlighted, the renovations to Town Hall. The things we just discussed with Phil, are those the things we're talking about?
Yes.
Just not the estimated costs. Those are actual, some renovations that have already occurred in the town hall.
Got it.
I think that's some stuff that we've done, whether it be the sound deadening material, and some other stuff, but that, yeah, that's definitely not a cost estimate for renovation, for the new item that we're looking to
Okay.
add to that.
So what are these costs that are highlighted in yellow to the right?
Susan?
She may have been adding up, I wasn't sure Paula did this, but I was looking at that too. I think it's what's already been spent maybe by each department. Does that look,
Yeah, it looks like if we had
if she
a,
wanted to put it by department, what's been,
Well,
It's
so,
by department in this category in the last one.
yeah,
so for example, the iWorks that Phil purchased, it has here, it's highlighted at $25,158.45.
Yep.
Was that the contract for the whole?
right, the actual expenditure on that is 11.5.
That was year one.
That was year one.
Yeah, I think it
Oh,
just
am I
shows the
looking at-
allocation, because we did
yeah.
the contract that'll cover through the period of performance for the ARPA funds that we
Right.
could use it for.
So I'm not gonna do this math in my head, but if you took everything that was actually expended by the DPW, I think that's the highlighted line.
Yeah, the 25, I think, is the total.
Yeah, I think that's the
contract.
contract, that's the contract total that we agreed to.
Okay.
I think it,
No, I think what Susan is saying, and I agree, is that if you look at from Amazon through iWorks in the actual expenditure, if you add those up, that's the 25K.
Yeah.
okay,
Because if you look at
yeah.
look at BOS, that 186K is from the first line down to renovations to town hall.
yes, you're correct.
So she's
Yep.
totaling it over to the right
Oh, I
for
see,
that.
I see,
Yep.
yeah, you're right, you're right.
Okay,
That makes more sense,
all right.
once we knew how to read it.
With reference to that first line, the records force, we're pretty much done with them, so there's gonna be some left over there, just so you know. They're still showing 39,000 some left.
Okay,
I think we can finish what we need to do in-house. I know Phil's got that big, the only thing I'm concerned about are the big plans.
Yeah.
But even if we bought another big scanner, it's like $5,000.
yeah, I mean, I think
so-
we still have some fun, if there's some small purchases that come up, I just didn't want us looking at anything that was $10, $20, $30,000, if we don't have any numbers yet of
Yeah.
what to do renovations here at the town hall. I think if, we're gonna utilize a large portion of this money, this is a building that's utilized by employees and the public pretty much on a daily basis. It's kind of the focal point of our town of, like I said, I'm sure nobody likes having the wood blocking the stairs out front. It's,
The only other, and a part of this funding, like we just marked 11,000, is for years that need to be paid out. In other words, 2025, 2026. So should those items that we know of be deducted from the 331,744 or some kind of line item, so we don't, all of a sudden, we get money spent and say, oh, shoot, we're supposed to save $100,000.
yeah, we should have Paula verify that anything that we signed that's a multi-year contract, that's through the performance period, we should just consider that as a
It's spent.
pre-contracted expense, yeah,
We need to encumber it as part of the total.
yeah,
Because it's a commitment over the next 2 more years.
yeah, but we just need it encumbered as far as this sheet
Just
goes.
so we don't
have
have
to
to
move
vote,
anything.
not get carried away and
Yep.
spend what we don't have.
Is that the only one that has a contract, though? Or was everything else looks like it was actual, like it's already paid for?
I think a lot of it was,
like a
most of it was, hey, this is something we're doing specifically.
right.
We were just trying to figure out some creative ways that we could cover a multi-year contract that was within the
Right.
legal.
And we know that the iWorks was definitely a 3-year contract because it was a good way to test it out, and you wanted to make sure it was fully implemented. And if we want it to continue, we'll just keep it as part of the budget thereafter. The regular, town-funded budget.
Any other items on here specifically, or if there's anything I know, we are spending some money out of, you know, we'd had some upgrades with cameras and stuff that were coming out, so there was a problem with one of the items recently that Adam needed to replace as far as the switching to get us back on Comcast. The one that we had here originally proposed and ordered. Did that come in as a PO this week?
You have the POs
Okay.
over by you in that purple.
So I believe that's probably gonna be a PO in here. Just the one that we were gonna order is no longer available, so we had to order like the next one, so it cost more money. So we just had to make sure that in the PO.
That was coming out of the Comcast fund though, right?
Well, there really is no Comcast line
No,
per se,
because
the
it
way
goes
it's
to the
been.
general fund.
General fund.
That's,
We've
just that one line.
discussed about maybe creating something or finding something appropriate that would hold that off, but.
wasn't there,
Or ensuring that there's money set aside for the communication and town feed infrastructure every year, that we commit to maintaining the system so we don't have these catastrophic failures. And
right. Wasn't there an issue that Adam brought to our attention last meeting regarding a camera?
We have,
Cameras,
we
3
have
cameras.
one camera that doesn't work. And I talked to Adam about maybe just doing that one for $1,300. But then Adam came up with the note about, well, you know, we're gonna do something, we should probably keep them all dated the same and do the 4 of them, which is around $7,000.
Yep.
And then we decided that, you know, although I'm thinking about it now, we kind of wait to see what the construction of town hall.
yeah, I think we were just waiting to see what the
The only
construction
problem I
costs
see
were
for that is,
ordering them.
well, you know, that's good, so we get all that information, and then we decide to do something, how much, you know, it's next summer before we actually get the stuff and the cameras in there, so I think not to say that it needs to be today, but I think we ought to.
Yeah,
as we
maybe
consolidate some of this
maybe
stuff.
that's appropriate for him to just bring forward, because I think that's just one of those things where there should have been money spent on the upgrading this equipment throughout the years that should have come from that Comcast money, so I think even deferring it, even if we have other things, I think we need to address it. So Adam, if you heard that, if we could maybe get a purchase. So with the multi-camera upgrades, we think maybe for next week, you could work with Paula to do a purchase order. Thank you. Okay, any more on the ARPA fund items until we get more back? All right, we are at public comment number 2. Nothing again?
Actually,
Did I miss? Oh, yep.
Yeah, it was just for
Oh,
your,
letter from the.
to review, and I didn't know if you wanted to talk about reading it at one of our meetings, but they're also having a presentation at the library that you could go to.
and when is that, Susan?
I want to say November 3rd, but
I think it's, next Friday, not this Friday, a week from Friday.
so I just, however you want to do it, and if that wording is okay.
What's the board's consent? Do you want us to like send something over, and then if anyone can attend to go to the libraries? It's like, I just don't want to jump in on what they're doing or try to overshadow that. I think it'd be kind of nice if we did something here as well.
I think something here would be appropriate. I don't know, if they're open late one night, is it Monday night? That maybe she works later, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for her to be back here.
It would obviously be convenient for us on a Monday night. Since that's when we hold our meetings.
I'll follow up with Melissa.
Okay. But I think the language is,
I just have one recommendation. The first part of it has come to our attention, that just sounds like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So maybe like we were recently informed or something like that. It just makes
Okay,
it.
I'll fix.
Okay.
Or we were excited to learn.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that'd be better.
I don't know that that's happened ever in 50 years.
Okay. We can move on to public comment number 2. Nothing? Nothing. All right, that will conclude public comment number 2. Correspondence, applications, purchase orders. So. This is the, in here we have the MS1 form, summary inventory evaluation. This is part of the appraisal packet that we have to just verify that they've compiled all this and we agree with this and we think it's accurate before submitting to the
To be
state. I'm assuming
signed,
you prepared
go to
this.
the DRA, and that's part of what's gonna get our tax setting process.
Can I borrow a pen? I didn't. Second week in
And I think we need to assume that the firm that put this together did it correctly.
Yes, the DRA, I hope so.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's our assessor, and there
Well,
was
our
one
assessor.
little
Yes.
mistake in there, which we fixed.
Yes, so, I don't think anyone will have any issues with that. This is that correspondence about that recognition. We have a permanent application for property tax credits exemption, so this is for a veteran's tax credit for 10 Diamond Oaks Boulevard, unit number 1, and we have the appropriate documentation in here, as well as DD 214. That's all that's in that folder. You gotta file for your veteran tax credit for it. Don't worry, I forgot for like the first 5 years I lived here. We have a general assistance for rent in the packets that you can review. We have a general assistance for electricity that's available for you to review. We have a purchase order for CP Building Supply. This is for 40-foot LVL beams for a total of $4,377.60. I assume this is for the Grace Daily barn?
It's the beams that are going to be used to lift the barn.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking.
The initial, and Phil can verify this, but the original source didn't work out, and so we're ordering them now through CP.
Correct.
The beams.
Leaving tonight, don't look to your left.
Say what?
Nothing. Huh.
3 weeks turned into 4 days, so.
Okay. And I believe that was all we had in those folders. Before I leave with it.
Chase you down.
Let's send them down this way when you're
Yep.
done.
Is this, do we have a couple of resumes in here? Was that taken up here?
Those are our new recording secretaries. We had one applicant for each.
Okay.
We talked to the committee chairs, and
So we've hired these two.
yes.
Okay,
They're
excellent.
gonna start and give it a
Because I know
try.
we needed them like yesterday.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and one of them is doing Heritage and HDC.
Heritage and HDC, and the other is
Right.
doing the budget committee.
Good.
Right, and I'm gonna go to both of those first meetings with them.
Just
to
get 'em
make
set
sure
up.
everything's okay, and they know who's who.
All right, thank you. Now we need the approval of meeting minutes for October 2nd and October 16th, both public and non-public meeting minutes.
So moved.
Any discussion on those?
Pass them down.
Yeah. All those in favor? Aye.
All right, I'll do them when you're done, Ellie.
Any other business as needed?
Just one comment, and I should have done this during the, don't go anywhere, Rick. Should have mentioned this during my liaison reports. The solar committee is actually having a meeting this coming Thursday at 7 o'clock, right, Rick?
Yes.
Okay, and we're doing it here at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we have to have it posted if more than 2 selectmen show up?
well, it's got to be a posted meeting anyway, because it's a committee of the town, a committee of the select board, so it's a public meeting, so it gets posted. I'm sorry,
Yes, the meeting gets posted,
yes.
but what if there are 3 select board members here? You also have to post it.
Oh, as a select board meeting? Oh,
Just saying.
Are 3 of you planning to go?
well, there's going to be at least 2.
I will make a sacrifice and out of town.
So it looks like, unless you're coming.
I was going to.
All right. So we are going to be having, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, going to have an update and a presentation from a new person at Revision Energy who's dealing with community solar activity.
Right, and this is, we're not,
Please.
we're not talking about the landfill, so it's a much bigger deal. I mean,
Right.
so
There have been some changes in legislation which give us the opportunity to look at some other options beyond what we were before.
Right, which is why you invited the select board to attend, which is why I thought we were coming, which is why I thought we should have it posted. Just saying.
I can post it if you want.
Why don't, just to be safe,
post it in
let's
case.
post it.
Right, it can take in other towns now, and that's the big part of it, so it makes it much more viable to put in a bigger system there, a much bigger system.
Right, I mean, I did not support it when it came to the Board of Selectmen because it didn't make sense at all feasible financially. Not to say that it's not a good idea. If there's new legislation that makes it more feasible to make some money at it.
Right.
I'd like to hear about it.
Right, so I mean,
More
and
interesting.
you've been on the committee, so, I mean, it would be a good opportunity to ask some pretty pointed questions, because I just think it's hard once they go to the committee and then they come to the select board, it's kind of like all over again, and you guys are gonna be the ones that are gonna have to really make some decisions as opposed to the committee, really, so if any of you can make it, it would be great, so, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do have questions on any of the legislation, because I'm curious, have they done any, because New Hampshire just seems to be one of the less friendly when it comes to like how they do it, because it's obviously not net metering and. They make it very, I mean, I know as an individual homeowner, I found it to be cost prohibitive for me, because the way that they don't do net metering, and then the way that they kind of downgrade what you put back into the grid. And so I'd love to see some other opportunities, because obviously we have the big system coming, there's a big system, but it's Unitils coming to Mill Road, but the county is just, the county is putting in a 5 megawatt solar array out behind the new building.
Right, and
but
I think Revision is doing the county as well, they're doing Unitils as
Correct.
well, so I mean, they're kind of the company to go to, so I mean, they know what they're doing, so.
But neither of those projects is gonna benefit our folks directly.
Right,
Correct.
no
They're-
question.
It's gonna help the whole system become more resilient and more,
Oh, don't get me wrong, that's gonna save that's the one's gonna save the county about $600,000 a year in electricity, so.
which saves us money.
Correct.
So,
I thought the intent for Thursday was for them to talk to the solar committee, and then after that, they were gonna present to the select board at a different meeting, right? Was that the intent?
That would be true, except what happened the last time when we did that, we get to the select board and there were a lot more questions than we thought there would be, and so it just seemed like if folks want to come, that would be
Sure.
great, because you can get into the weeds pretty
Sure,
good.
but they'll
and-
still be.
Yes, they would still have to come back,
Presented to the
yes,
select
yes,
board,
Thursday,
okay.
which is the 26th, I think.
Because we're also televised live and we want that information out.
Right. So thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Any other business?
The question came up whether the Friday after Thanksgiving, the building will be closed or not. Clerk's office is closed. This happens every year. Do you guys want to make a decision on that, or?
Are we gonna shoot the messenger? Is that what you're asking us?
So people can plan now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, whether we have that Friday or not, but, the building will be empty, like if I took the day off.
As a county employee, I think you should have it off.
Is it a town employee day off?
It's
our-
not technically,
is
so I
not.
think we might have to take a vacation day, but will the office be closed so we can actually be gone or not have one person sitting here?
In the private sector, anyone can close the office. I think that's the easy part. As far as, in the private sector. Management can close in the office, but you have to decide whether or not we're gonna pay individuals. If they have vacation time or comp time accordingly,
Yeah.
I think that would be appropriate to take it, but close the office to the public.
But yes,
that's what we've done in the past.
if there are some people that don't want it, we don't want to create it, because if we don't allow it to be open at all for them to come and conduct work, we have to. But yes, I would say close it to the public, but if there's people that don't want to voluntarily take the day off,
They can come
and they
in and
want to
work.
come in and get tasks completed, they
They
have
can
that
buy a
option.
day, but then they don't have to answer questions all day, like, when can I register my
Yes.
car? Because
Yeah.
they can't.
Yes. So we are all in agreement that we will close it to the public on that Friday after Thanksgiving.
And if people want to work, they can work.
Correct. All right.
That's it.
So, how about those minutes? How we doing on those?
Oh, they're floating around here somewhere.
Yeah, we were in.
There's only 2 people that have signed most of them.
Oh, we had
One person.
No, because if she signed a bunch of
four.
them, you signed a bunch of them, Ellie and I went through a bunch of them, so there's gotta,
We just got to cross-reference a little.
I haven't done the new, she put a new initial stamp
I was
on it.
looking at it today, and some still only had 1 and some had 2.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Mine were all on the front.
It's been a month.
Well, listen, we've made more progress in a month than the previous board's made in 20 years.
That's right.
So I'll take it as a win. All right, meeting's adjourned.
Did we approve minutes from?
We did.
Yeah.